the whole idea of presence is the present. The presence in the moment, that's the present that we're so longing for. And how did I learn to enjoy that? I think a lot of time in nature. Talk about influence. I went to summer camps. I was a camp counselor, lived in communities or they were way out in the boonies, just being, and granted, it was pre-cell phone time, but just being out and just feeling the breeze, hearing the birds. And we all know that birds sing when there's safety. If there's no bird sounds, it's like maybe the lion's coming, So really acknowledging the birds, creating safety.
See, it's so good. And the practical side of this too is like everyone's heard, oh, it's good to go out in nature. We know that the Japanese doctors prescribe Shinrin Yoku to their patients when their ailments are kicking up. But how do we actually do that? I mean, I think that's what people are hungry for. Mm-hmm. From the elders that taught you and you yourself an elder, people are hungry for, hey, how do we actually do that? How do we practically design our lives? And what are the integrative pieces that must be set in place so that we really do have a commitment to nature being something that heals us, that supports us? Because it's so easy to just be like, oh yeah, I know I should go on nature.
I went for a hike.
That's so easy.
And I checked in my phone.
But are you actually doing it?
Yeah.
And knowing and doing are so separate. There's a bridge. There's some kind of a really cool, maybe rainbow bridge. We're out here in Hawaii. Maybe there's a rainbow. What's the rainbow bridge between knowing and doing?
Well, are we human doings or are we human beings?
Well, of course we're beings. But sometimes we do.
But how do we be if our mind's going a million miles an hour, our heart's heavy from whatever just happened, and we're out in nature and we're going, oh, yeah, right. It's every Indigenous elder I've hung with, they talk about nature. And it's almost like they're talking from a whole different place from what us Euro implants, immigrants, wherever we come from, westernized people, that we're taught to understand things, control them, make money off of them, utilize them. Yeah, caretake, like environmental, we're going to take care of the earth. Well, what if the earth is us? I mean, that's what I get from Indigenous folks, of just, we are the Aina, we are the land. It's speaking to us, just like our mind is speaking to us, our heart is speaking to us, our organs are speaking to us. The earth is part of our organ system. And I get that there's a deep yearning and disconnect from us humans and from the earth. One time I was very distraught. I was laying on the earth crying or, just emoting. And I felt like the earth was the mother receiving all of my pain and sorrow. And it was like composting the earth. What mother doesn't want their child to come to them and just, the child's just having big emotions and the mother just accepts and says, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. It's good. You're crying. It's good. That's what the earth was doing to me. So then when I turned over and I looked up at the sky and just with that mother-father image, the father then was just pouring blessings into me because I emptied into the mother. So that was a good image. So how do we be with nature, not just observing it? And it takes time. It takes time to walk out on a path. It's nice to go to the same path, even if it's in houses and, it's nice to go be totally surrounded by trees and jungles and things like here, or even on your deck where you have plants growing. Look at the little bug crawling. Look at this little plant, how it entwines in the other, makes rooms for the other plants. Just look at how it is. And all of a sudden, your thoughts have slowed down because you're engaged with. How do I have a conversation with a plant, with a tree? Just slow down a little. Because what about work? And I got to be with it and market it and earn, pay my bills and take care of my family. And there's all this. But where does that source come from? Where is that ability to, it's like not be exhausted? Yeah. And I really, really, really commit within myself that it's about the pause. I
think when I go back to my 34-year-old self, like 10 years ago, when I started what was the Wellness Force radio podcast, I did not have this switching capacity that I've shared with you before.
Yeah.
This ability to go hard charging, get it done, take care of responsibility, cut with a razor and hold a baby in the same day. It's like, well, that's not taught. I was never modeled that by my father, nor was he by his father. And I assume that maybe my great grandfather and my great just didn't have it. They were never taught it. So I feel like the wisdom of the elders that you're sharing isn't just about sitting with nature and giving our cries and our grief to mother and being blessed by father. It's also a call to men. I'll speak from a man's perspective. I know women embody masculine energy as well to get things done. But for me, especially being an entrepreneur and like getting things done, but also being soft and luxurious for my woman and being fully present with my heart over my family, and then going back to getting things done, this switching capacity, I feel like the true elders in the Native American community and in all communities across the world, they had that mastered. They had it mastered, this ability to go to war and come home and hold their baby. They just have that. And I wonder what you think is most pertinent to be shared with younger men who are coming up, who are going to be fathers. When you and I are long gone, their children will still be here. Mm-hmm. What do you think those children need? What kind of presence, and what's the practicality of increasing a man's and a father's switching capacity to go from hard charging responsibility to soft and nurturing, and honestly, the wisdom to know the difference? How to the Lord's Prayer, right? Grant me the serenity to accept the things I can change, to the wisdom to know the difference between the things I cannot change. Mm-hmm. I paraphrase that, but it's like, God, it's so important. It's so important for us to know when to grit, when to relax and quit. What do you make of that?
Well, wisdom, I can say wisdom is consciousness. And when people are all of a sudden, they emote and they just, I feel so much better. But are they conscious of those emotions, how it affected who's around them, be it your colleagues at work or your family at home? I just emoted. I finally unloaded my truth, or, and sometimes it's in rage. And, that's the one that's really good to look at, because you lose sight of, it's just like, I just need to unload and yell at this person. Can we look at how that affected the others around me, especially your children, especially your partner? And you go, oh my God. And the partner is so like full or used to that happening. They're just like putting up with it. So trigger, passed on to your kids. That's just how the home life is. Well, what if the person who just emoted goes, oh, I feel better, but I want to rephrase that. I want to take two, let's do it over, and that's okay. That's a hardest thing in the world to do. Do over. This is what I really meant to say. And I was loaded because da-da-da-da-da. So really I messages rather than because you did this and you did that, that invokes the other person to unload at you. And here we go. The war's on. So my partly working with couples is getting them to set the guns down. When you did that and da-da-da-da, it's like, who's pulling the trigger? Why is it loaded? Why? What happened here? Can you put up a white flag? It's, as you know, it's the hardest thing in the world, because your habit pattern from your ancestors is like, this is how we do it. And I think part of that ability to flip, it probably started changing when we weren't farmers anymore, or we weren't hunter-gatherers anymore, if you go that back, or we weren't living in a large community.
That's it.
So we have nature and we have community, not only elders, but aunts and uncles. And it's not just one or two parent household. It's you got the neighbors coming around, and kids are running back and forth to one house. Oh yeah, they're napping over here, or they've already fed over here. And wouldn't that be a dream? Rather than, oh my God, I'm responsible for the children. And then the whole culture goes, your children are a mess, it's your fault. Well, it's really the fault of the culture. The myth of normal. Gabor Mate, that's his book last year. It's just, what have we created that it creates so much stress? Stress is like up here to people because they don't know how to switch into that doing and then that relaxed mode of being. And it takes consciousness. So when somebody goes, okay, I want to be conscious of doing that, and they emote and then they go, oh, this is what I did. That's really painful. It really hurts. It's really vulnerable to realize I just wounded or passed on my trauma to my children, or, it didn't help my colleagues at work. And it's painful, but I love feeling that pain and suffering of becoming initially conscious is more than halfway there. And I'm sure I've told you that. That pain means that you are now feeling that. That pain isn't new. It's really, really ancestral old.
Yeah.
And you're choosing, I'm going to feel that pain that you so well know. It hurts so bad. I had to say, thus far, no farther. It hurts so bad. But thank you for feeling that, Josh, because it was like that pain, and there's more to come. There's all these layers of the human experience. It needs to be felt. That's the healing modality. It needs to be felt, but it needs safety in order to be felt, because safety wasn't there before. This is all compassionate inquiry. It needs compassion, and then it needs curiosity. But I can't be curious about a pain if I don't feel safe.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Click the link if you want to watch the full episode, and I will see you in the next video.